Hey guys, Bobby D here, back at the lounge with you. Liberal, loony, leftists have let their cheese slide off their cracker again. We have some brilliant minds in Elon Musk and his young hand-picked DOGE team, and they're finding exactly what we suspected all along. And the liberal lawmakers are actually out in the streets in what I think is an actual call to violence against Elon Musk, his team of engineers, some who are they're teenagers, but I think it's really anybody that voted for Trump and supports Trump and DOGE. And Pam Bondi is going to have her work cut out for her, and so is Kash Patel. Pam Bondi's already on it, but our acting FBI director, I certainly hope that he's getting in on it as well. Let's dig into how insane they really are this time. This is worse than when Mad Maxine Waters was telling people to get in their faces when you see them on the streets, and they were confronting people like Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her family out having dinner and stuff like that. This is, people are going to need security. Just check it out.
Democratic lawmakers joined protesters on Capitol Hill this week to melt down over the Trump administration's efforts to cut wasteful government spending at USAID. And they specifically took aim at DOGE director Elon Musk. Watch.
God damn it, shut down the city! We are at war!
Fire Elon Musk. Elon Musk took control of our country's financial nuclear codes.
What we're not going to do is stand around while they pull this bull. We are going to be in your face. We are going to be on your...
We will see you in the courts, in Congress, in the streets. Elon Musk is a Nazi nutball baby. Nobody elected your... This is not Elon Musk's country.
We've got to fight back. You've got to be on the streets tomorrow.
The billionaire tech executive and his DOGE team are even facing public threats. A Boston University employee posted photos of 5 of Musk's DOGE staffers on X, saying they were, quote, wanted, dead or alive, for carrying out a coup. A U.S. attorney telling the Boston Globe the post is being investigated. The Musk fired back on X. Here's what he wrote. Noted, before adding, he has committed a crime. And, Griff, I want to add something else here. Let's go back to the purpose of DOGE before we talk about these physical threats against these staffers who are trying to do the work that has been assigned to them. You've got Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary. He and Elon Musk have already spoken and said, let's upgrade the air traffic control, the systems within the towers across this country in the wake of the crash that hit over the Potomac. 67 people died. They've got a problem with that. Do you want to upgrade the technology at the nation's airports?
Which is highly outdated, and we learned that as a reporter that covered the crash in Washington. And that's just one example. I think the larger picture, Cheryl, that's so fascinating, there's a rich hypocrisy here that the Democrats are becoming profanity-laden, unhinged over an unelected advisor who I believe volunteers for President Trump that is taking a look at waste and inefficiency across the entire federal government, which we've known for decades is bloated and engages in wasteful spending. And yet these are Democrats that are outraged that an unelected volunteer to the president's taking a look at it after unelected bureaucrats in agencies like USAID and across federal government have squandered billions of taxpayer dollars. The question is, are there actual Democrat voters out there that support gross, incompetent, wasteful spending when you look at DEI programs in Syria, a transgender opera in Colombia, and these other examples? Yeah. There's no doubt that USAID has priorities and perhaps spent some money on something that was important. But from the time Trump left, when they spent about $20 billion on USAID, to the final year for Biden, it was $40 billion. So why wouldn't the Democrats want to at least take a look at the auditing of it?
Martha, what's interesting I found out was that if you go back to the Clinton years and the Clinton presidency, that time his Secretary of State wanted to eliminate USAID because of the misappropriations of funding. Yeah. It got shot down. It never happened. But what they wanted to do at the time, that particular Secretary of State, he wanted to bring it back to the State Department. That is
where
now
what we're talking.
Yes, now that's what we're talking about doing once again. But this is why the bureaucracy, that behemoth in Washington is able to stop and squash anytime you try to have fiscal responsibility.
I mean, the lady doth protest way too much. I mean, when you are screaming about holding on, bloody murder, screaming on about hanging on to every last bit of the bureaucracy that exists that got us to a place where we are $36 trillion in debt. Does anybody think, Republican, Democrat, that this is what the founders had in mind for this country? I mean, does anyone think so? It is so outrageous to me. They are so freaked out by the simple question of, people who are on read-only mode just looking at the books.
Yeah.
What's astounding is the Democrats are freaking out over saving U.S. tax dollars. That's mind-blowing. I mean, you just heard her, $36 trillion in debt. And the left wants us to keep doubling down on stupid like they always do. I hope they run Kamala Harris again. I really do. I mean, they seem to be good at doubling down on stupid. So who knows? Maybe they will.
Like any American corporation, if you're a public corporation, your books are open. Your shareholders are investors in your company, right? The analogy is that we as taxpayers are investors in this. We have put our own stock into the United States of America. We deserve to see how everything is functioning. That's what Musk is doing, because you know what? They tried this so many times in Congress. They cannot do it to themselves.
Yep.
They can't. They failed every time, even good intentions. Tom Coburn pointed out all this same kind of garbage and waste. He got nowhere, sadly, despite his best efforts.
And we're just learning this is actually just crossing, that the U.S. attorney in Washington, D.C. Is going to begin an inquiry into people, quote, stealing government property and or threatening U.S. DOGE staff after referrals from Elon Musk and Steve Davis. This is Ed Martin. So action's already being taken to protect these people whose photos have now been outed on social media.
Right, and that's an appropriate stewardship of our tax dollars. I have to say, here's what's different this time around. And this is why it's going to work, because the collective dismantling of the bureaucratic bloat can only work when you do it all at once. And to your point, Adam Andrzejewski and the Open the Books company, for so long, there are voices in the dark that have been crying out this entire time, showing transparent windows into the book so that we can see the ridiculous of our tax dollars. But only now, when everything in one fell swoop is happening, that's why it's working. And I can't understand why all of those Democratic leaders, to your point, are talking about the use of our money. It is our money that pays their salaries and that pads the coffers of this government. So why shouldn't we have insight into it? By the way, those need to be the campaign ads for every single person running against those incumbents in a year and a half. We need to get them out, but they dug their own grave there.
Yeah, and to Martha's point earlier, Maxine Waters has been at a lot of microphones in the last couple of days. But you know what? Also, Nicole, going back and zeroing in on USAID, look, they're not saying get rid of the entire thing. They're saying get rid of the bloat. USAID does do things like, fund HIV research and prevention in Africa. They're saying we're not going to take that away. We're going to give the core mission. We're going to keep the core mission and get rid of everything.
Yeah, honestly, I have a lot of colleagues who are really upset right now. They're very concerned that the funding for their research that they're doing is going to be cut off. I mean, we do a lot of valuable research in the cancer community, and I keep telling to people, you just have to give it a pause right now. I think DOGE is probably one of the greatest things to happen in U.S. history, but change is hard. I can empathize with these Democrats right now. It's really hard. And in hospital systems, we have to do these huge electronic medical record transfers. And that makes me want to retire and quit my job because it is so hard and it is so much work, but it doesn't mean it's not for the greater good of things. And so while I think a part of them just wants to keep it, they want to keep control of the money, but I also think it's really hard to accept change. And Elon Musk with DOGE, I truly believe are doing great things, and they are going to weed out the waste and make sure that what deserves funding should get funding. But I will say, and I say this with caution, Elon Musk is tweeting or Xing. He's talking about how some of his DOGE employees have been doxxed. They need to make sure that they are doing appropriate vetting, because let me tell you that at least one of those that have been doxxed, has been flagrantly racist on social media. And I do believe that we need to make sure that they may be the smartest, They may be good with a calculator, but they need to be good people too if they're working on this.
It's very interesting. We're $36 trillion in debt. DOGE is trying to cut away some of the fat off the top, and obviously Elon Musk is very good at it. He did that when he bought Twitter. I think he lopped off 80% of the fat and made it a more efficient company, and it still works. Our government is so bloated, and a lot of this money, you can't tell me that it's going to what they said that it's going to. I think it's filtered. It's just filtered. It's going to certain people. I guarantee you George Soros gets a ton of our tax dollars through filtration. They have a way of using osmosis to filter, filter the books. And we're paying for stuff that is actually against our own national interests. DOGE is just trying to figure that out. The people that are crying the loudest about this, they are, it's in their best interest to keep this fat on. Why is that? I mean, I think as they dig into the books more, they're going to find out a lot more. I know, this is just U.S. aid. I think when they get into the wasteful spending through the Department of Defense, the Department of State, especially Medicare fraud, they're going to find a lot. And for them to dox those young men on DOGE's team, I think there needs to be serious consequences about that. If I would say the threat isn't to just them; it's to anybody that's supporting Trump and what DOGE is doing. And so, stay vigilant. I'll tell you right now, stay armed. And no, we're not going to take it. We're done. We're done with the left's bullshit. And this isn't their country to tell us how our tax dollars are going to be spent. We elected Trump, and so they're just going to have to get used to it and get over it. It's going to be a very, very rough 4 years for them. That's all I can say. And hopefully 12 with JD. So anyway, once again, Bobby D here. Welcome to the lounge, and thanks for stopping by. I look forward to bringing more content to you. If you like the video, please comment below. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.